Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time to meet our community, the Hispanic business community here in Orange County. Powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio. Streaming live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center. Join us as we bring in our host, John Gutierrez. Hey, John.
Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Thank you, Paul. We appreciate you having us here. We have a special guest today. As Paul mentioned, welcome to our community podcast show, where our community is your community, powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host, John Gutierrez, founder of OC Hospice and board member at the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Today, we have a great host. We have a great guest with us today. Her name is Alma Hernandez. She's a senior deputy district attorney, career prosecutor for 20 years, OC resident of over 22 years, and mother of 5 boys. Her husband is Mr. Jose Hernandez, an attorney, immigration attorney, if I'm correct.
That is correct.
And somebody who supports our Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, comes to a lot of our events and our golf tournaments. So let's welcome Alma Hernandez. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, John. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure, and I'm so grateful. Thank you.
And I'm going to interrupt for 1 second. Let's get her to the microphone a little closer to us so we can hear everything
perfect.
she's saying there.
There you go.
Is that better?
That's much better.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
So what we like to do on the show here is get to know you and who you are, and we'll get into all the other fun stuff a little later. But tell us a little bit about who is Alma Hernandez. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, your childhood, maybe some of your hobbies. Let's let the listeners know who you are as a person.
Okay, John. But you're going to have to stop me if I go on too long. You know, you give an attorney an open mic, and
I know.
We're
going to have to wave you down.
Exactly. Thank you. This is a great opportunity, and hello to all your listeners. I actually grew up in Southgate.
Okay.
It's small. It's kind of like Santana, but much smaller.
Okay.
It's in the southeast region of LA County, right where the 105 and the 710 meet. That's where I grew up my entire life, basically. We moved around a little bit as a kid. I come from a long line of single moms. My great-grandmother was a single mom, my grandmother, and my mother.
Interesting. Okay.
My mom was only 4 days into her 16th year when I was born.
Wow.
Right. I'm the first person in my entire family to ever graduate from high school.
Really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
I don't have, I guess, the normal trajectory of somebody who's running for judge.
Yes.
And then, so I grew up without a dad. It was just my mom and I, and then my 4 siblings that came along later. But, you know, what I did learn from my mother was hard work, right?
Yes.
To her, even though she didn't finish high school, education was very, very important. And my grandmother as well. So I watched these 2 women struggle and work to provide for myself and for my brothers and sisters. And that's where I learned my work ethic, right? I never knew what it was to work hard. I just knew that you work.
Yes.
And it equals the same thing.
So you have some good mentors.
Absolutely.
Some strong women around you, right?
Strong women. I mean, we all had our own obstacles to get over and around and through.
Yes.
But I learned a lot from them. I learned from them how to be persistent,
Yes.
how to work hard. You know, and in my mind, it wasn't hard work. It was just work.
Wow.
But you learned how to get through life, you know, how to be successful despite all of your obstacles, or maybe because of my obstacles, right?
Yes.
So thankfully, once I got through high school, I only applied to one undergraduate school because my high school counselor basically said, oh, you don't have money, you can't afford it, just apply to one of the Cal States. Thankfully, I did, and I applied to Cal State Long Beach and got in.
Really?
Right?
Oh, that's awesome.
It was. So I was there. My second year, I became a single mom myself.
Wow.
So then I really had to learn what hard work was and
Yes.
go to school, work full time to support me and my son. And
So you're a young single mom at the time in college. There must have been some challenges there, right?
of course, but to me that was nothing new. You know, challenges were just part of my life. I
Okay.
didn't feel sorry for myself because of it. I wasn't mad at the world because of it. I just took it as, okay, this is life. Now let me figure out how I'm going to get through it. Because that's what I saw the people around me do their entire life.
And at that early age, as a mother going into college, did you know you were going to pursue this kind of career? What was your mindset at the time? We have a lot of our youth chamber that listens to our podcast, and it's good to share with them, you know, that youth mentality when you're in college, the advice. And so what was your mindset at the time, would you say?
I think at that time, my mindset was just survival and getting through
Okay.
and making it. Making it. At that time, I really didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I just knew, okay, this is the path that I took, so I have to finish it and I have to be successful.
Wow.
So my mission the whole time was just get to the end. Just get to the end. I think most college students think that when they graduate from high school, they have to have a clear path mapped out and they have to know where they're going to go.
Yes.
My husband, Jose Alfredo, that you mentioned,
Yes.
he was like that. He knew from the time he was a little boy that he was going to be an attorney.
Yes.
And he was just focused, tunnel vision, and he got there as quickly as with the straight path as he could. I didn't take that path because that wasn't the path that was available to me.
Yes.
But once I got through, that whole time, from the time I was turned 13 until I got out of college, I was working for an attorney. My mom was a secretary for an attorney, so I worked with him during school breaks because we had year-round school, on the weekends. So I always worked and went to school. It was nothing new for me.
Yes.
You know, so it wasn't a change. It was just like, okay, well, now I got to step it up. So when I took a year off after undergrad to work full time. At that time, I had a thought of, okay, you know, after working in an attorney's office for a year full time plus all the other time, I thought, well, if these people could do it, I can do it.
That's
you
right.
know, I was like, there's nothing about them that's different than me.
Exactly.
So it was just from watching them do their work and the people that I was surrounded with that made it so that I thought, this is actually something that's available to me.
It's interesting you bring these points up because we've had other guests who've been here and they've talked about the importance of volunteering or doing an internship. In this case, you were kind of not volunteering, you were getting paid, but you had your feet into a career that you were learning.
Right.
And so it gave you that confidence, would you say, right?
Oh,
Being
yeah.
in there.
I tell my boys, I have one son right now that's at Cal State Long Beach, and I tell him all the time, love, it's great that you're going to school and it's great that you're getting good grades, but that's just the bare minimum. That's your job as a student, right?
Yes.
At least that's how I see it. That's your job. You need to do more than that. You need to get out into the community, meet people, network. You do that by interning, externing, volunteering, get your feet wet, right?
Yes.
Because for me, let's say at the DA's office, part of my job is I volunteer to help recruit new DAs.
Okay.
And for me, when I do an interview, it's like, okay, so you went to high school, got good grades. You went to undergrad and law school, and you did good. That's nice. That's the bare minimum. That's what you're supposed to do. Tell me what else you've done.
Yes.
Right? I want to know that you've had a job. I want to know that you've had obstacles in your life that you've overcome. But because that's what makes you a good person with some solid background.
Yes.
And common sense more than anything.
Exactly.
Right? They don't teach that at school. That's something that life experience brings.
So when
it's
you were
huge.
working with this attorney for that year, what was the transition then from there?
Oh, that's a good story. So one day, him and his mom him and my mom, took me to lunch.
Okay.
Sat me down and he said, okay, so what's next? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, okay, your year's up. So what's going to happen now? And I was like, well, I don't know. He's like, well, aren't you going to go to law school? And I said, look, it took me 7 years to graduate. I'm already almost 26. To me, back then, that was old, right?
Yes.
I wish I was 26. And he said, okay, well, and I said, and it's too expensive. He said, look, it takes you 3 years to graduate from law school. Would you rather be 30 and still a legal secretary, or 30 and have a law degree and be an attorney?
That's awesome.
And that
Yeah.
completely changed my mindset. That's all it took,
Yes.
right? A switch in my mindset and perspective. And I was like, oh my God, he's absolutely right.
It's like he challenged you.
Absolutely.
Right.
And not only did he challenge me, he supported me. The next morning, I'm sitting at my desk and I see a brown paper bag sitting in front of me. And I was like, what is this?
Mhm.
He walks in and he says, that's for your second excuse. And he said, pay me back when you can. I opened that. It had $10,000 in it.
No way.
Yep.
Wow.
And he just said, pay me back when you're done.
Wow.
And I paid him back within a year of my husband graduated from law school because
Wow.
I was so overwhelmed and grateful for the belief that he had in me. You know,
Yes.
this man watched me grow up since I was 13 years old.
Wow.
And now at 26, he had all that faith in me to not only give me that support that I needed and that push, but to put his money where his mouth was. And
Yeah.
I'm eternally grateful for that. And that's why I work so hard as a DA to give back, not just to my community, but I want to see other people, other students that come from maybe not a traditional background. I want to see them take positions like the one I have. It's not common to see a Latina who's bicultural and bilingual do my job, unfortunately. And I wish more people would see it as an opportunity, because that diversity and that the different upbringing and perspective is so important in a job like mine.
Yes, it's interesting you mentioned that you mentor, because I was reading some of the stories about, I mean, you've really been mentoring college interns, law clerks, junior DAs, right?
Yes.
What's that been like for you now that you're on the other side of the table, right? You were just like this gentleman who mentored you and helped you out. What has that been that for you in the last, I don't know, 10 years or so that you've been doing this, mentoring others?
Really, that is it. I say that it's my way of giving back, but I feel like I'm the one who grows from it. From every experience and every contact that I have with somebody that much younger, I learn from them just as much as they learn from me. It's probably one of my favorite parts of my job, because I see so much negativity in my job. I was a sex crimes prosecutor for almost 6 years.
Wow.
That's super difficult. So
I can imagine.
I
yes.
needed that balance too, right? Because with every single one of those cases, you kind of, it's a new scar on your soul, right?
Yes.
You have your own childhood traumas, but when you deal with these cases,
Yes.
you kind of add a new one. And so it's kind of a way for me to balance that. I have this tragedy that I deal with on a daily basis, whether it's the sex crimes or homicides. So you almost need that as a human being to feel normal, right?
It's interesting you bring that up. People often say that to me. How do you work in hospice?
Yeah.
How do you work in, when people are dying,
Super
6 months?
important.
I've been in it for 20 years, and I say you have to find ways to get through the therapeutic part of it, right? Because we're humans, like you say, and so you can't take that all with you carrying it. So that's why I mentor and I get involved in the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and I love helping others in the community, because that's like my escape, right?
Yeah.
What you're saying is very similar, but on another note, you also have 5 boys.
I do.
Which is pretty amazing. And Jose, your husband, and I were talking yesterday, and he kept pointing that out, that you're just an amazing mother.
Oh, thank you.
And so kudos to you.
Thank
And 5 boys, what's that been like? I mean, tell us a
It's a
little bit
wild
about that.
ride. It's a wild ride. 5 boys. You can imagine. My oldest is 29.
No way.
Yes, that sounds horrible to me when I say it out loud. But he's 29, and my youngest will be 16 in July. It's been a wild ride. I had my son already when I met my husband, and then we added 4 more. And it
Yes.
wasn't like we took our time. I had our first son the first semester of my second year in law school,
Wow.
and still maintained a full ride scholarship. And then the third year, we added another boy, and unfortunately, that my son passed away, and
Sorry
he
to
went
hear
back
that.
home to be with
Yes.
our father. But that was difficult in and of itself. But children bring such a joy to your life. It's a
Yes.
lot of work, but we were very, very lucky in that we have a huge support system. That is the most important thing.
Family.
Family.
Okay.
But you know what? Some of us don't have family, so we have to pick a new family for ourselves. So whether it's family, friends, neighbors,
Exactly.
it's so important to have a network
Yes.
of support.
Yes.
Because, I'm trying to, finish law school and become a DA and become a good trial attorney. My husband is doing the same, and he's trying to run a successful firm. It takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of help from the people around you to help grow this family. I mean, 5 boys, that's it.
Yes. And you mentioned trials. I mean, you've done over 60 trials,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Verdicts.
yes.
Spent over 5 years in the sexual assault and child abuse unit.
Yeah.
1 year as a trial team leader for a general felony unit, and 5 years in the gang unit. You currently serve as the trial team leader, right, and handle most complex trials in the unit, including special circumstances, homicides, both gang and non-gang related. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot right there.
Yeah.
Like you're one tough woman. Tell us about that community leader, superhero that you are. People want to learn about you, because again, we have a lot of young listeners that we want to make sure they know what it takes to get to this level.
I think it's just your mindset and your perspective is so important, right?
Yes.
Never to feel sorry for yourself, and just for me, it's really been full steam ahead always. Not that I haven't had moments where I doubt myself. Of course I do. But I have my husband who is my big rock, right?
Yes.
So we're that for each other. So that's
great.
been so
That's great.
important.
Yes.
So important.
22 years married, you said?
22 years
Wow.
married, 5
Great job,
kids.
Jose.
Yeah. I think I'm the one you should be
I'm
congratulating.
sorry. Happy wife, happy life. I get it. Yeah.
But I mean, it's possible, right?
Yes.
Anything you want to do that's really worth it to you, that means something. And that's
Yes.
the thing. You have to find something in life that actually motivates you, that makes you get up in the morning. And you know what? Yeah, I have this case. I have this child abuse case, this child molest case. I really care about this child. That's what made me come home, do homework with my kids, get projects done, shower, get them to bed, and then start working.
Wow.
And not go to bed till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and get up at 5 o'clock and do it all over again. You can't do that if you don't have a career or a job that you are fully invested in and believe in. And that's what this career has been for me. And that's why I'm seeking this judgeship, because it's the only job that I can think of for me where I'm able to do the right thing for the right reason every single time. I mean, that's even our mission statement for the DA's office. And being a judge, that's my next step in doing the right thing for the right reason every time, and having courage, making decisions that are maybe unpopular,
Yes.
but doing it without fear and without favor.
And yes, folks, Alma Hernandez, who's our special guest today, is running for OC Superior Court Judge, seat number 30. And she's asking for your support. Go out and
Absolutely.
vote for her. Tell us, I hear this is like electoral wise, it would be one of the first times that a Hispanic Latina woman would be in that position, if I'm correct.
Absolutely. I would be, well, I'm on the path to becoming the first Latina elected to the bench. In Orange County, we've not had a Latino or Latina
Wow.
be elected. We've had some be appointed by the governor
Yes.
or different governors, but I could be one of the first, if not the first Latina elected. And I say that because there are other races
Yes.
where there are other
Yes.
Latinos. So if I,
But this is exciting.
it is. It's huge. And for me, it's a barrier that needs to be broken. I would love for it to be me. It doesn't have to be me, but I see it as a step that I need to take in order to knock down that barrier for everyone who's following in my footsteps, right?
Yes.
Because we all look forward, and we all have our heroes, and we all have these people who have done things that nobody else has done. To me, would be a huge accomplishment, but not just for me, but for our entire community.
Yes.
For the entire Orange County community, whether you're a Latino or not. It's important for you to always have the most experienced and qualified person. And I think the type of trial experience I had, my life experience, that's what makes me the best candidate for this seat.
What would be some of your goals if in when you win this position? What would be some of the goals? Have you thought about that?
Well, of course, my goals are always to do justice for the right reason, like I
Okay.
said, every time. But more than that, my big thing has always been to come home, right? I've been an Orange County resident for 22 years. 15 of those, the last 15, I've been working in Riverside. Before that, I worked as a city prosecutor for 5 years, so that's why it's 20 years of prosecution work.
Yes.
But for me, I've always wanted to come back home, because being back home and being local, that's 2 hours of commuting that I don't have to do anymore. 2 hours that frees me up to be more involved in my community and to do more mentorship opportunities, right? That to me is so important. And I could do it on a much grander scale as a judge. That is very important to me. And now that my children are older, I have that extra time. And that's one of my goals. I really want to be more involved in the community as a mentor for our local schools, for our law schools. I'm doing that now, and I just want to be able to do that on a grander scale.
Wow. This is exciting, folks, that Alma has the opportunity to change history. What would you say to a young girl listening to you
Oh
right
my
now
God.
out there that is, wants to grow up and be in these kind of situations or these positions? What would be the message you would send to that young lady or young man listening that, obviously you've been through a lot of tough times and you've made it, and and we want to congratulate you on behalf of the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, because it's perseverance, right? And
It is.
so what would be the message you give the youngsters listening right now?
I would say that your circumstances when you're a child and you don't make your own decisions, those don't define who you are and who you can be, right? There comes a time and a point in our lives, regardless of the situations that we were given and we were brought up in, there comes a point where you make your own choices in life. And everything can be different. You just have to see it, you have to believe it, and you have to want it. And nobody can stop you. The only person who can stop you is yourself. Because that negative voice in your head that tells you you can't, you're not good enough, that voice is you. Nobody else approaches you and tells you that. We say that to ourselves. Every morning, all day long, that negative voice is playing. You have to recognize that, and you have to find a way to quiet that voice, right? And it just takes perspective and some self-love and some self-compassion.
And like you said, it's great to have a community behind you, supporting you. Obviously, your husband, your children, your mom, and all those women, are they still like around? Do they know that you're doing all this? What's that been like?
Well, my relationship with my mom is not exactly supportive for many different reasons.
Sorry to hear that.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It's part of life, right? It's
Yes.
part of what makes me who I am. But because I have that tense relationship with my mom and there's that distance, it makes me want to be a better mom to my children, right?
Yes.
I'm more invested in them because I want them to have everything I didn't have or everything that I wanted to have. But like I said before, just because your blood isn't surrounding you and supporting you, that's not an excuse to not thrive.
Yes.
Because we still have an opportunity to create our own families and our own community.
Exactly.
And there's people in this world surrounding you that will do that for you, that want to do that for you. You just have to open yourself and be able to receive that. It really is important. Blood is not always the most important thing. We don't always have that.
I'm pretty sure all your tias and all of those women are very proud of you because...
I'm not saying my mom's not proud. She
Yeah.
is. She's just not able to be
Yes.
as involved as I would have liked her.
Yes. But I mean, your children, 5 boys. I mean, I have 2 boys. I know what it's like to raise boys, and it's a lot of work.
It is.
It's a lot of work. And so them seeing where mom is, obviously where dad is. I know Jose is a former football centurion at Century High School with us.
Baseball,
and baseball too, right? I think
Pitcher.
yes,
Pitcher,
a pitcher. And so we got 5 minutes here left, but is there anything else you would like our audience to know? Just reminding them, when do they vote? When is all this happening?
Well, the mail-in ballots are going to drop in a couple of weeks at the beginning of May.
Okay.
So please be on the lookout for those and fill out your ballots and send them back in. The actual in-person election is June 7th. And I just want to emphasize how important it is for people to get out and vote. I know it's a local election and people don't pay attention, but those are the elections that affect your life the most.
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis. Who your
Exactly.
school board members are, who your mayor is, who your local judges are. Those are the things that are most important that are going to affect you, like you said, on a daily basis. And in this particular race, there's 5 of us. So there's 5 candidates for 1 seat. So I really do need the community to get out and vote. It is super, super important, especially in this
So we had a
election.
couple people tweet in some questions. I just want to make sure
Sure.
everybody, we're clear how to find her on the ballot. Is this for everybody in Orange County, or is this just parts of Orange County?
It's a countywide election.
It's a countywide election.
Countywide.
And the election is being held when?
The election is June 7th, but the mail-in ballots are coming out the first weeks of May.
So this is the primary election that's coming out, and a lot of
Correct.
times people don't even look at those. I hate to say it,
Exactly.
sometimes I don't even look at all these things because I don't know the people there.
Yeah,
right?
but like I said, that's why it's so important, because these local elections are the ones that affect your daily life.
I completely agree, and I'm embarrassed to admit that sometimes I don't even know what these people are doing and whatever. So how do they find you on the ballot? This is specifically what.
Her name will be there, right?
Right. It'll be a Superior Court Judge, seat number 30. That'll be the title. And then under that, you will see the 5 names of
Okay.
the candidates. So it'll be closer to the end of the ballot. So please, once you do those big names, assembly, supervisor, please keep going. At the very bottom is where you're going to find all the judicial elections. And there's actually 9 seats.
That's what I was
for
going to say.
judges
So there's
open.
9 judges,
Wow.
9 seats open, and then multiple candidates for each of those 9 seats. You're the last seat on the ballot?
One of
I'm
the-
not the last seat. I think I'm close to the end. I'm probably the 3rd
Okay.
third to the last.
Okay.
But it's the one that has 5 candidates. Everybody else has 2 or 3.
Oh, okay.
So if I don't get 50% of the vote June 7th, the top 2 vote getters have to go to the general
election in the fall.
It's like
in
a
the
runoff
fall.
kind of a thing. or
Right.
something.
So I'm hoping to, shut this down June 7th. And with, all your listeners' support, that's a very good possibility.
And what would it take to close it out on June 7th? You have to get one person candidate to get over 50%. And if
Correct.
not, then the top 2 vote getters go on to the fall here.
Absolutely correct. Yes.
Wow, that's a lot to think. Does anybody have any questions? You got that, John? Everybody clear on that?
Well, listen, we want to thank Alma M. Hernandez. Again, it's when you look at the ballot, Alma M. Hernandez for OC Superior Court Judge, seat number 30. We want to thank her for really being a community leader, for doing everything you do in the community. Obviously, these positions are very important, but just the everyday hard work that you do for our community, we appreciate that. We appreciate you being here on our show, here on our Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce community podcast show. As we close off, folks, I just want to say thank you, Alma, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And real quickly, just want to remind everybody, our Estrella Awards is May 7th. Feel free to visit our website, www.ochcc.org. Also, for many of you looking for jobs or looking to post jobs, our chamber, of course, has our amazing job board we created during the pandemic. You can find that also on our website, and you can also find it on our Instagram, which, of course, is OCHCC, which, of course, stands for Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Again, I want to thank our special guest, Alma Hernandez. Please, folks, go out and vote for her, support her. She's definitely going to be the person for us to support. And we just want to thank everybody who listens to us. And just remember that at our community podcast show, we are all about you and us, and where our community is your community. Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Alma, and have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Well, there you have it. Another great reason to tune in each and every week to meet our community, the Hispanic business community here in Orange County. Powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Orange County's only community radio station, right here, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studios at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.